Back to work. It's Friday.
Very interesting, even for the people from the street, as we say, because the interest to the space research is rising because of this mission.
Nathan Eismann with Space Research Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences. Jan Osberg is a senior engineer at RAND Corporation. How big a moment is this for the Russian space program?
This is a pretty big achievement for the Russian space program. And this is the first mission that Russia has launched that goes beyond Earth orbit to another celestial body since a while ago. Their last lunar mission was in 1976.
Right, that of course was when it was the Soviet space program. Is there much difference? Clearly the technology is rather different, the times are rather different, but is there much difference between the setup for the Russian space program and what was the then Soviet program?
Yes, there is quite a difference. The Soviet space program could draw on the skills and capabilities of all the member states of the Soviet Union. They were launching from Baikonur, whereas today's launch was from a new launch site in the Russian Far East, so that Russia is no longer dependent on Baikonur, which is now in a different country.
The Russians are aiming for the South Pole of the Moon to land there. How significant is that?
The South Pole of the Moon has become the target of this, what some call the new lunar space race. Several years ago, space probes confirmed that there are deposits of water ice in some places near the lunar South Pole. And if that water ice can be mined and then processed into liquid water and hydrogen and oxygen for electrolysis, that is fuel quite literally for the further expansion of humanity into space. Hydrogen and oxygen, of course, are powerful chemical rocket fuel. Water can be used both for life support purposes. Humans need water to survive. And of course, oxygen is also needed for humans to survive.
So it's not just about prestige, but it's really about, I mean, when you talk about the next stage of the space race, you're talking about launching missions towards Mars.
Towards Mars, towards the asteroid belt, exploration, exploitation of space resources. There are asteroids out there that have huge amounts of strategic minerals. There's, of course, Mars as a potential location that can host a human outpost or ultimately a human colony. But to get there, we need fuel and we need life support.
Given that the Indians have launched their own mission towards the South Pole of the Moon, which is due to land more or less the same time as the Russians, what are the rules about sort of who gets there first? Is it whoever sort of metaphorically plants their flags gets the chance to exploit the region?
Yeah, so international space law is actually quite a complicated topic, but the bottom line is that nations cannot claim sovereignty to any celestial body, including the Moon, but they can, of course, set up shop there, and once they have an operation going, other countries are expected to not to interfere with it. And so that creates a significant first-mover advantage. Whoever can, set up some notional lunar mining operation has a relatively, well-founded claim under international law that, whichever square kilometer they're working on, they can utilize that.
Jan Osberg, an aerospace and defense specialist at BAM Corporation. Tourism is Croatia's largest industry. Its long stretch of Adriatic coastline attracts visitors from all over the world, and increasingly tourists are being served by workers who themselves have travelled thousands of miles as businesses turn to Asia to solve staff shortages. Our Balkans correspondent Guardian dragged himself to the glorious Croatian seaside to find out more.
The summer season is getting into full swing here on Croatia's Kvarner coastline. There's just one problem though. With all these new arrivals coming in, there simply aren't enough staff to take care of them.
Whole Croatia is understaffed for the last 2 years.
Nino Kajfeš-Cvijetic runs an employment agency called CP Recruitment. He specializes in matching Croatian employers in need with workers from Asia who can do the job.
Asian people, when they come, they have triple or 4 times bigger salary than in their countries, so it's very good for them to come there.
And where are most of them coming from?
India and Nepal now, it's I think 80%.
It's preparation time here in the kitchen of Tarsha, a restaurant in Rijeka, Croatia's third city. And the workers in here aren't actually from around this area. In fact, they're not from this country or this continent at all.
My name is Sundar Silva. I'm from Nepal. In Croatia, we can do the same work and earn much better salary.
Hello, my name is Asafia. I'm from Nepal. There is lots of people, Croatian people is very nice. My workers, they are very friendly, and others, my bosses, they are very pretty good. Very nice, my boss. So it's nice to work here.
The admiration is mutual. The worker shortage means that business owners are grateful for any help they can get. Previously, they'd looked to other former Yugoslav countries for seasonal staff. But in recent years, Germany's been hoovering up much of that talent. Employing workers from Asia is a new adventure for most, but Tarsha's owner, Goran Rogic, says he's been really impressed.
Phenomenal, and they are people, as good people as our people, work-wise, and also as human qualities. They're very satisfied with the people working here. After they are comfortable working, they begin to take this as their own home.
With the tourism wave still on the rise, the demand for workers is only likely to increase. And as the recruitment agent Nino told me, for Croatia, Asia is the future.
And that was Guy Delorny, our Balkans correspondent, reporting from the Croatian seaside. You're listening to NewsHour, live from the BBC. Much more to come in the next 30 minutes. Stay with us if you can.
Distribution of the BBC World Service NewsHour in the U.S. is made possible by American Public Media, producer and distributor of award-winning public radio content. APM, American Public Media, with support from Glassdoor. Professionals can join real, anonymous talk with others from their company, industry, and more in Glassdoor's workplace communities. From career advice to coworker wisdom, people are asking tough questions and getting real-time answers on the new Glassdoor app.
This is 91.7 WVXU. Support comes from Music and Event Management, Inc., presenting Outlaw Music Festival, featuring Willie Nelson, John Clinton, Government Mule, Kathleen Edwards, and Parligian on August 13th at Riverbend Music Center. Tickets available now at Ticketmaster.com and Riverbend.org. Outlaw Music Festival, August 13th at Riverbend Music Center.
Hot and sticky today, getting up to 87 tomorrow and Sunday, a high of 88.
On news now, in the next 30 minutes, Ukraine's president has just said that he's dismissed all the regional officials in charge of military conscription. Well, Eva Crossman to Kiev. Is the prospect of military confrontation growing again in Niger? The staring contest between the coup leaders and the regional bloc resumes. And the sound that revolutionized music is 50 years old. Let's sing a happy birthday to hip-hop on this Sunday News.
BBC News with Eileen Q. Ukraine has sacked the heads of military recruitment for every region in the country amidst concerns about corruption. President Zelensky said there were signs that officials had enriched themselves and in some cases helped to transport men out of Ukraine to avoid being drafted. Ukraine says it shot down a hypersonic missile fired by Russia, though 3 others got through, including one which hit a civilian area. There are no details of casualties. New figures suggest the number of migrants crossing the Mediterranean Sea to reach Europe has doubled in the past year. The EU's border agency says at least 2,000 went missing while making the attempt. The leader of Belarus has ordered his government to contact Poland amid rising tensions along their joint border. Alexander Lukashenko was quoted as saying he was ready to talk to his neighbours. China says it's uncovered a spy working for the CIA. The State Security Ministry said the Chinese national, known only by the surname Zheng, was employed at a military organization and was recruited on a work trip in Italy. The authorities on Hawaii's island of Maui say it will take many years and billions of dollars to repair the damage caused by devastating wildfires. 55 people are now known to have died and thousands have been displaced. Lebanon's caretaker government has shut down the country's oldest TV station following a strike by staff. Around 200 workers at public broadcaster Tele Lebo have been protesting over unpaid wages for nearly 2 years.
That's a slow driver.
Amnesty International has urged the Iranian authorities to overturn a ban on the use by media outlets of the terms homosexuality and gender. Iraq's media regulators said the words had acquired negative connotations, but Amnesty said the directive could fear discrimination. BBC News.
It's unclear whether a group of conservative parents in Tip City, north of Dayton, will appeal. They failed to convince a federal judge that the Bethel Local School District's bathroom policy was unconstitutional. The rejected lawsuit came after Bethel schools decided last year to let students use the bathroom that corresponds to their gender identity. For the Ohio Newsroom, Chris Walter reports.
The group of parents seeking to change the school's bathroom policy was made up of both Christians and Muslims. They argued that their children sharing a bathroom with a trans person violates their religious beliefs. But David Carey with the ACLU of Ohio says that's not how his organization or the judge saw it.
It's good to have a win in this area. It's good to have a reaffirmation that the law protects all people and that the Constitution protects all people and that it is not to be used in the way that the plaintiffs were trying to use it here, essentially as a vehicle for discrimination.
The group of parents has the option to appeal the ruling. Both the parents, lawyers, and members of the Bethel School Board did not respond to WYSO's request for comment by airtime.
Disasters, protecting wildlife habitats, water quality and air quality, and helping communities plan for wildfires. Brandon Howard is Kentucky's state forester. He says this agreement will help get multiple state agencies on the same page and working towards common forest restoration goals.
This is just an opportunity to shine the light on the needs of stewardship and the stewardship of our forests in the state, and maybe bring people to the table who aren't typical partners to try to come up with new solutions, because we're always going to have new issues identified.
Forests cover almost half of Kentucky's land mass, spanning more than 12 million acres across the Commonwealth. I'm Sheriff Snyder.
The Department of Justice's investigation of misconduct into the Louisville Metro Police Department will not result in any additional investigations or officer discipline. WFPL's Roberto Rodan has more.
The DOJ report included more than 60 examples of police misconduct.
will be just as busy. Vanessa Romo, NPR News.
Ticket opportunity for Bengals fans. Details at DonorTime.com.
Support for the State House News Bureau comes from Medical Mutual, dedicated to the health and well-being of Ohioans, offering health insurance plans as well as dental, vision, and wellness programs to help people achieve their goals and remain healthy. More about individual, Medicare, and employer plans at medmutual.com.
Traffic report is supported by Murphy Tractors. Northbound 75 near Ezra Charles, there's a broken down vehicle sitting in the center lane. It's slowing things back to 7th Street. There's a vehicle reported on fire, Colerain Avenue at Colerain Road. Queen City Avenue at Harrison, there's a wreck there. Southbound US 27 before Colerain, there's a wreck. And in Montgomery County, northbound 75 on the ramp from 741 Springboro Road, there's a wreck. Turning cloudy tonight, a low of 70. Could see some rain right around daybreak tomorrow morning. For Saturday, partly cloudy with some spotty storms. A high of 88 tomorrow. Partly cloudy and 69 degrees on Saturday night. And a slight chance of rain on Sunday. Otherwise, mostly sunny and 88. It's 86 degrees now.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Mary Louise Kelly.
And I'm Scott Denver. For decades, one of the most legendary private collections of early blues music was just that, private. Now, it's available for everyone's ears.
This is a collection that was known as the Monster.
That's blues musician Don Clemens.
You know, you always fear that for each musician that recorded, there were, dozens, if not hundreds, that didn't record. This is the first time that you're seeing an archive that proves this point.
The archive is a collection of 590 reels of sound recordings and 165 boxes of manuscripts, interviews, notes, photos, playbills, and posters. All of it collected by a man named Mac McCormick, blues researcher and ethnographer who spent years zigzagging through Texas and the American South in search of great artists to record.
People like Joel Hopkins, who was Lightning Hopkins' brother. There's some amazing recordings of him. And then there's also another fellow, Bongo Joe, or George Coleman, who was a very eccentric, he called himself the original rapper.
You vote for me, we have no more White House, we have a Black House!
That's what's something that makes this archive so worthwhile. It just opens up a whole new world.
A whole new world that's now accessible to everyone. A sampling of it, at least, on a new box set from Smithsonian Folkways called Playing for the Man at the Door. Field recordings from the collection of Mac McCormick, 1958 to 1971. Flemons wrote an essay for the album, and John Troutman of the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History helped produce it. I asked Troutman how Mac McCormick was able to find and record all of these incredible artists.
Mac documented everything, and often when he was officially working as a census taker or as a cab driver would just begin to knock on doors. This was a really remarkable and challenging interaction because he was visiting these segregated neighborhoods and people in these neighborhoods. And that interaction is filled with power dynamics. And in the 1960s, at the height of the tensions around that period of the civil rights movement, for a white stranger to knock on black folks' doors was a moment that could be filled with a great deal of tension.
And not just a white stranger, sometimes in his role as a census taker, a white stranger in the